We've got some
Hey,
fresh new
I'm
young
Luis.
talent
And
doing some
I'm
things that I know
Luis.
you haven't
And you're
heard
listening to the
before.
Content is Profit podcast. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Content is Profit. What's your take?
Woo, let's go. What's your take? And today, what's your take on what? On podcast intros. Are they a yay? Are they a nay? Woo. Should we actually have podcast intros?
No. I don't know. You tell me. Do you guys like a podcast intro? Ow, what just happened?
I just stabbed you with the pen.
Anyways.
You better don't disagree with me. No, I'm kidding.
Sounds good. Sounds like an entertaining episode. But anyways, this is probably one of the questions that whenever we're talking about podcasting with somebody, this always comes up. You know, what's the intro? Do I need an intro? Do I not need an intro?
Yeah. And I think you and me personally haven't actually discussed
Never,
this.
actually.
I wouldn't say never, but in a while. Like since we actually put the last intro, the one that we just did, I don't think we've come back and actually sit down strategically and talk about it. So today's what's your
this
take?
Is the behind the scenes strategic conversation about this.
Pretty
Okay,
much. Today,
sounds
what's
good.
your take is you sharing your opinion about it, me my opinion, and see if we
no pressure.
No pressure
No
whatsoever.
pressure. Anyways, guys, if you're enjoying the show, go ahead and follow it in your favorite podcasting platform. Hit the bell, the reminder, everything that lets you know that that episode is going live in your phone. And let us know on social media at BIZBROS. Go. How are you enjoying the show? Thank you so much for all those kind comments and messages
and goodness,
and DMs and goodness and
you're
everything.
Good. Caffeine
I'm good.
lowering again.
I'm good.
Guys, and if we help you move one step closer to your goal, please don't forget to share this episode, leave a 5-star review, and if you want to take it all to the next level and join the Content is Profit Facebook group, just go to Facebook, type Content is Profit, and join the family.
Okay, I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Well, you're not ready. What are you doing? Stop surfing the internet.
No, I was looking to see if there's a domain for whatsyourtake.com. But let's get started. What is your take? Podcast intros, yay or nay?
I am leaning towards yay with some contingencies.
Okay, what are the content? First of all, what are the benefits of a podcast intro? Why would someone want to have a podcast intro?
Well, first of all, I think the intro is part of the identity of your show, right? It marks the start of the episode, and you know, it's part of your branding as well, right? Because there might be some music, some sounds that are specific to you, right? We haven't changed literally the songs or the sounds that we have in our podcast since episode 1. Is almost 400 episodes now, right? And it does become part of your brand of the thing. So I actually collaborate in this clubhouse room every once in a while, and we talk about the power of audio, right? In general, in content, right? And part of this is this whole experience, right? So whenever we're sharing information, we talk a lot about how you making feel the people on the other side of your content, right? So they can remember that experience. And for us, the experience in our show is more than just the listener, obviously, like that's super important, but it's also the guest, right? It's that first person in your audience. And this whole experience with the sound adds to that. And for us has been really positive. And the number one comment that we get, right, is we love your energy. And part of that is the sounds and the music. And we actually have some background music which I miss, but anyways. But as far as that intros, right, like my take is yes on that side, right, because it will differentiate your show in a sense. But I think it has to be, the contingencies are depending on like the platform that you might be publishing, right? So for audio, right, we started with we had a very long intro at the beginning of the show when we first started, right?
Yeah.
It has shifted a little bit. It's a little bit shorter now. There's an intro for a solo episode. There's an intro for a guest, right? When a guest comes in, part of that introduction to the guest kind of becomes that part of the intro.
Yeah.
But again, I think the world is moving to this attention spam thing where a lot of people, skip through it, some things, right? So if you're a visual, if you're a YouTube type of content, right? For the podcast, maybe it's just a very quick 2-3 second part to interrupt, and that is the intro, and then maybe you intro the episode. But I think there has to be some kind of introduction in your platform to give context, not only on the show itself, but also on what you're gonna talk about.
Hey, but by intro, I'm not talking about the 30-second teasers that might go before what I'm referring as the intro, So for us, the intro was that hey, this is Luis and this is Fonzie, right? That's the intro part that I'm talking about. Um, and this is, as I was thinking about it, I was reflecting, pondering by the lake and the ocean. Actually, I wasn't at the lake or the ocean. I was just at the coffee shop. But as I was thinking about it, I was like, it's very interesting because a lot of channels that I see that have a longer intro that I already know of, these channels, it actually kind of like turns me off a little bit. And then I just find myself either skipping or even I might change it. But if it's a new channel, the intros are extremely helpful for me to understand, like you're saying, the context, right? And not only that, but for the creator, I think they're extremely important to create that bridge, right? To pre-frame the listener into what is it that they're going to be listening to, what can they expect from the episode, and what can I expect from you as a creator that is trying to help them. So in that sense, I'm like, okay, I think the intros are really good. So I started thinking, can we potentially do, or what about a strategy where you can have a longer intro for more general kind of like starter episodes, right? So for example, we do an episode called Podcasting 101, which would be highly discoverable, right? In search of terms. Probably a lot of people would be introduced to our podcast through that episode. I think that would be a good episode to have an intro, right? To kind of like pre-frame people. But once they start being, part of the community contents profit and they start going to other episodes, maybe have a shorter intro or even change that intro for a call to action. So instead of saying in here, you're going to get the insights, accountability, and drive to create consistently and increase revenue, we could potentially just say that, hey guys, welcome to Content is Profit. If you want the top 10 tips to increase accountability and drive consistency and revenue through your content, make sure you go to contentisprofit.com. All right, let's get started with today's episode. You see, because you already got a little bit more rapport with the people that have been going through your content pipeline.
Yeah. I mean, we've the anatomy of an intro, right? Like,
Yeah.
and when we first started in the network, part of the feedback that they brought in was you guys are not talking directly to the audience, right? And we're like, well, we've been in this journey of discovering who the audience is, right? Like, we have amazing people that have been coming to a world, and they come from all backgrounds, right? And we're like, well, what if our decision on how we want to create is to leave it at that, right? And maybe it's not super specific, right? But I think there has to be an element of the episode starting, like some shows pick just starting the conversation, kind of like the experience that they provide is the listener just jumps into this conversation. One example is My First Million from the network as well. It's like they just start talking,
Yeah,
right? And that's
exactly.
it. And the intro for them is just like a 5-second sound that comes in, and it is the cue, the audio cue that the episode is actually starting, right? They have teaser, they do the audio cue, and then the conversation kind of starts.
Yep.
So I think you can qualify like that way, right? You won't do like a 30-second introduction, right? Especially again, depends on the platform. But if you go to YouTube, right, and in a video platform, right, you might see that there might be not even a pattern interrupt, right? Because now we're competing for the attention and making sure that people stay in that conversation, right? But I do think for maybe branding purposes, consistency purposes, I think there has to be an element of that. I like it. We go back to, are you creating from an intrinsic place, right? um do you like your creation, right? Like, we truly enjoy it, right? So
Yeah.
it also for us is a way to get in energy mode and in show mode, right? And we do it live every single time, so it also becomes an opportunity to build rapport with the guest. If for some reason it goes south,
I
we
mean,
just start laughing.
honestly, they find it impressive. They're like, I thought you guys had that intro pre-recorded. It's like, nah. We
No,
actually
no,
do it
no.
live every single time.
Yeah. So again, that's why I lean towards the yes, right? But again, I think part of it is that as you start doing it, you're gonna gather some feedback. And right, we talked about the tactical side of, hey, if you're gonna go to your episode, when are people falling, right?
Yeah.
When are people skipping, right? And then you can identify if people are actually skipping the intro, right?
Yeah.
Do you hide something in the intro that's different every single time, and you have like one solid framework, right? And like you said, you add the call to action or you add something different, and it's
Yeah.
like, how can you make it entertaining for people to want to listen to that intro?
Yeah. I mean, I think the regular advice that has been shared across And honestly, I haven't even thought about this again till this conversation right now, which I think is kind of cool, is the fact that people think the intro has to be always the same for every single episode across all
Yeah.
your seasons, right? When in reality, you can have the intro serve multiple purposes, like we said, right? If it's a general one, create a general intro for the newcomers so you can pre-frame them in the topic,
Yeah.
and then you can still have the intro but maybe tweak it a little bit or maybe make it a little bit shorter for the interviews, so you're still doing the intro live, but now also again audience of one. Your guest is your first member of the audience, and is that person that you want to build rapport and you want to demonstrate that authority as well, because we've talked about this plenty of times. And if you haven't heard about it, make sure you go back a few episodes. But we talk about transitioning that guest into a potential opportunity, right? And
Yeah.
we can pre-frame that through our intro. Again, they're listening to it, so why don't we leverage that? It's like, hey, if you want a fractional content team, make sure you go to contentisprofit.com, right? Boom, now the guest already heard about that under pre-frame, and that interview potential is going to be listened by people that have already been consuming your podcast. Because
Yeah.
let's be honest, just an interview, unless it's somebody really really big in that ladder of influence, is not going to be a top of funnel, very discoverable type of content, right? So
Yeah.
again, I do think there's multiple scenarios for multiple type of intro that can serve purposes for your podcast, which is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we can get tactical, right? I think an action item will be, hey, if you have a podcast, an active podcast, and you have an intro that you've been running for a little bit, right? Go back to your analytics, and you can search, right? Like, are people actually falling off? Like, we use a tool called Chartable, so you can go into that tool and it will tell you. You'll see this graph where people listen to the first 2 minutes, and then the graph comes down for like the 30 seconds of the intro, and then it goes back up. That means that people are skipping that intro, right? You can go to your podcast.connect, I think it is, for like Apple Connect podcast.com, I think it is the link, and you can see the same data on your Apple podcast, right? So if that's happening, if you see significant drop off at the beginning of your episode, if you have an intro, then it might be an opportunity for you to revisit that, right? Should we do a shorter version, right? Should we do one episode without an intro and see what happens, right? And I think part of that is something that you got to do. And if you are publishing on YouTube, for example, on the video, same thing. You're gonna look at the data. Where are people falling off? Like, how long are they watching, right? And then you can make a decision based off of that. It turns out maybe that your intro is super engaging and it's different, and people enjoy that because it might be different, right? But at the end of the day, those are the pieces that we gotta look at and see if we can implement based on that. I
Yeah.
truly enjoy the way that we do it. I think it's super short. I don't think that I've seen data showing that people are dropping off right off the intro, but you let us know. I would love to hear any feedback from you. We actually met somebody in the coffee shop a while back, and we ended up working with them. But the first comment, I think, when they listened to the episode, it's like, I love your show, guys. But for the first, like, that's when we had the old intro.
Yeah, that
And
was
they're
pretty
like,
long.
I just skip for like the first 2 minutes because I already know what you guys are gonna say. I just like skip straight to the content. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, that's a great piece
That's
of feedback,
interesting.
right?
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, well, now we know, like, that is literally the first piece of real estate that you're going to have in your show is the intro. That is the first thing that people are listening to. And of course, you want to hook them so they stay all the way to the end, or at least your retention is strong throughout the episode. But what if you only leave your call to actions to the very end? Like, this is literally your first opportunity to spark interest and to drive that traffic into your offers, landing pages, whatever it is at that time. So
Yeah.
I think personally, I think we have been maybe underutilizing it a little bit, in the sense of like putting our call to actions in the intro so we can try to drive that
Mm.
traffic into the other stuff. Because we usually always, I mean, sometimes we do the shameless plug here and there throughout the episode, and then of course we always share it at the end of the episode. But what if we take advantage of the intro as well and start sharing those call to actions in there? I think that could be very very powerful.
Yeah. Like I said, go back to your data, right? And at the end of the day, if people are enjoying your show, like, is your actual content good, right? at that point, like if that is good and people are skipping your intro to listen to your content, hey, maybe you don't need to change anything, right? At the end of the day, I think that's a valid point as well, right? The problem becomes when people leave your platform based on that intro, right? So it could be like maybe your content is not that good, right? People are not enjoying it, right? That's a different conversation to have. But I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure into that 30-second, right? 15-second, 10-second introduction to your show, which in fact the real problem might be the content itself. So, anyways, I lean towards yes, there has to be some kind of introduction to the show. I like how we started. I personally, I'm very selfish on that side. I think it's something that differentiates ourselves from other shows, and I really enjoy it, right? But again, we're here for you, the listener. So if you have any feedback on it, let us know. Send me a message on social media at BIZBROS, and I'm happy to receive that feedback.
Or at FONZI Creates.
Or at FONZI Creates.
Hey, I have the next. What's your take?
Okay.
You want to hear it?
No.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm going to share it. All right. The next What's Your Take is going to be what to do when data says the opposite
than what you want to do.
The intrinsic creation that you want to do.
Okay.
I think that would be a good What's Your Take?
Yeah, I think we might have different views on that one.
Yeah. So if you're listening right now and you have thoughts about that you want us to share on the next What's Your Take segment, make sure you send us a message at BIZBROS Co, Facebook, Instagram, and we want to know what's your take on podcast intros. Is there a yay? Is there a nay? And why?
Share your podcast intro. Send us a link.
Oh,
We'd
yeah,
like
that'd
to
be
hear
cool.
your podcast intros. That would be awesome.
Yeah, just send us your link. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Great
All
idea.
right. I think that's it.
You can tell we do this thing on the fly.
Guys, we will see you in a couple of days. With that said, thank you so much for tuning into Content is Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite podcasting platform and on social media at BIZBROS Co.
That's right. And if we help you move one step closer towards your goal, please don't forget to share this episode and leave a 5-star review. And we should do a What's Your Take on outros. Yay or nay?
Always yay.
Always
That's
yay.
it. All right.
Visit
Bye, guys.
contentisprofit.com. See ya.
Take care.